You know what they say. You just can't keep a good guy down.
Hello everybody, welcome to the Comic Game Movie Show, and this week I have a horror classic. Now, I haven't done these in a while, but I figured the season is October and whatnot, and there's still so many horror movies that I personally consider a classic. Some of these movies you may not have heard of, some of them are maybe be hits to you. This week, my classic is 1998's The Faculty. Yes, The Faculty, directed by Robert Rodriguez. Yes, Machete Robert Rodriguez. Yes, Spy Kids Robert Rodriguez. Yes, Alita Battle Angel Robert Rodriguez. That same guy. Directed one of the best episodes of The Mandalorian, Robert Rodriguez. Book of Boba Fett. But I digress. That Robert Rodriguez directed this movie. And funny enough, this movie, honestly, if you didn't know it was him, like, don't get me wrong, there are some Robert Rodriguez isms in the movie. Like, but you can't see it all. It's pretty straightforward. Now, this movie, The Faculty, came out in a time period where the Alien thing was a big deal. First of all, the Aliens franchise was still going, was just like Aliens had just came out not that long ago. You had Species coming out, you had Critters coming out, you had fucking, you had some good ones, man. You had some good, this was a good little period for like some of those horror films. But this movie also plays up one of my favorite types of films. One of my favorite types of films, particularly in the horror genre, is the worst case scenario films. And what I mean by worst case scenario is we all have situations in our lives where we think the worst case. Like if you and I take it Rear Window, Hitchcock's Rear Window and Not Till Dusk Till Dawn, Fright Night are two prime examples of that. Two very prime examples of that. Because we all have had a neighbor that's weird, you know, or a neighbor or someone down the road who we kind of weird about. Like, that guy's kind of weird. Like, oh, that guy's like, there's something weird going on over there. But it doesn't turn out that they're a fucking vampire. We all have seen a lot of people have lived in apartments and seen some sketchy shit happen across the road. But for the most part, ain't shit, it won't nothing. We don't see someone get we don't find out that some murderers, like serial killers living across the street. You know, I love movies like that where it's like, it's just like, it could be anyone. Could happen to you, could happen to me. It's just a bad situation. But the best example of that is Get Out, to be fair, because Get Out, which is another movie that I'm probably going to do, Get Out plays up that trope that a lot of black parents are scared shitless that they're like, you know, even if the white girl you're dating is fine, what about her parents? And this is like the worst case. Get Out's like the worst case scenario. And the same thing is here in The Faculty. Because The Faculty takes place in this small little town, and it takes place around this small little high school. Harrington High School. And we follow just some kids living life. But, you know, obviously teenagers, high schoolers, they're having conflicts with the adults and with the teachers and the principals and the head coaches. You know, it's a nice little cast here, too. You got Elijah Wood, got a young Elijah Wood. You got Usher in this movie. Usher's in there. The guy, I can't always forget his name. The guy who played in Terminator. Always forget that fucking dude's name. Hold on, I'm sorry. I just want to make sure I get his name right. Yeah, there's a lot of heavy hitters in this. Well, not heavy hitters, but you know, people who were at this before they were on. Oh yeah, Robert Patrick. Yeah, Robert Patrick. Like, and I don't remember if he did this after Terminator 2 or before. I think it was after. I think this is after Terminator 2. But either way, so you got all these teachers giving these kids a hard time. All these kids are walk of life. You got the jock, you got the fuck ups, you got the guy selling drugs, you got the cheerleader, you got the outcast, you got the types of teenagers. And obviously, you know, there's this whole thing, you know, of kids feeling like they're misunderstood, feeling like no one's listening to them. Like if they saw something, no one would believe them. And lo and behold, the teachers and the teachers in particular start acting kind of different. You know, different. The teachers start acting different. They start acting like weird. Long and behold, turns out it's an alien invasion movie about these parasitic alien species that are taking over the minds of the teachers. They're gonna take over the minds of the adults and work their way down to the kids, and then eventually take over the world. I love The Faculty for one reason. Because it is the most it's the most, in my opinion, logical alien invasion attempt in a movie. Because if aliens actually exist and invaded, it would not be this over-the-top War of the World spectacle. It wouldn't be this, like, you know, it wouldn't be what you think it would be. It would be, and it wouldn't even be like they wouldn't take over. They wouldn't attack like the presidents and the governors and like these they wouldn't be in New York. They wouldn't be in New York or LA or Texas. No. If aliens ever invaded, they would invade. They would start by taking over this tiny, off the beaten path, no one's really heard of it, barely get any attention from it, little town. And they'd take that over and they'd replace everyone in this town. People, because no one would notice people missing in this town because it's a tiny off the wall town. And then they would just slowly come out of there. And that's always been a brilliant thing. It's always been one of the things where I was like, yo, that makes sense. Also, a lot of the stuff, but to get into the movie itself, the cast is okay. I mean, it's a fucking early 90s horror movie. It's better than, like, I Know What You Did Last Summer. They're not that bad. But you got people like Usher in this, and we all know, like, that man can't act worth a damn. He's just playing he's just playing a jock in here. Like, he's like fucking Nick Cannon at acting. No, he's not quite that bad. No, Nick Cannon's not that bad. But either way, so Elijah Wood is sort of the main protagonist. Because he's the smart kid, he's the smart kid. Though unironically, the thing they end up finding to kill the damn thing is related to the drugs that the bad boy was carrying around. Like I say, all these kids are just types. None of them are very deep. Don't get me wrong, they're going through some teen angsty shit and like they have to figure this out. Though it is kind of like that, right? It's this movie about these kids having to figure out this crazy situation by themselves. Their parents don't believe them. And even if their parents did believe them, and obviously there is this secret invasion of the body snatchers-esque tension to the movie. I will admit, like it's not the greatest horror movie of all time, but I love the design on the actual parasites and the actual creature. Also, it was very practical, it was very cool looking. Also, I love the tension. The movie has such great tension because you don't know who is who. You don't know if somebody is who they say they are. You don't know if they're just one of the parasites. And and you're always nervous. You don't know who they're talking to. No one's listening to the kids because a lot of these kids are fuck ups anyway, so no one would listen to them even in the best of circumstances. And you really struggle. I mean, you figure they're going to figure it out, but literally up until near the end of the movie, you really struggle to figure out how the fuck are they going to figure this thing out. They're outnumbered. This parasite is doing its thing. It's taking over all these people. Like, this is and the stakes are so big because it's like if they fail, these kids fail, this thing is just gonna grow out of control. Which is why I like it. Obviously, there's always the problem in a lot of horror movies is you have to ask yourself, why doesn't the main protagonist just run away? You think of that all the time. Like maybe on Elm Street gets around something like that because Freddy's in your brain, so it's not exactly like you can run away from that. But like movies like I don't know, Friday the 13th or shit like that, like you always kind of wonder, like, dude, why wouldn't you just like run away? Or Chucky, or the Child's Play movie, why wouldn't you just hop in? Why wouldn't you just immediately book it? Now, granted, Chucky hunted his ass down, but still, like in a lot of horror movies, especially movies like this, especially like ghost or alien movies, you're just like, why don't you just run away? But it makes actual logical sense why these kids are like, yo, if we run now, this thing's just gonna get worse. It's gonna grow, it is gonna become out of control, and eventually we'll have to deal with it anyways. We gotta stop this right here, right now, before it gets any worse than what it is. And they made that decision. And like I say, at the end of the day, I dug the faculty. It's not the greatest horror movie of all time, but I thought it was a unique take on the body snatcher esque plot. I thought it was a cool, like I said, it could happen to anyone's situation where it's just like we've all thought like, people are acting strange. We've all thought someone has been acting odd, but we never assume they're going to be a fucking alien that's been taken over. You know what I mean? And then playing up the idea of the kids and their angst and not being listened to and them having to kind of work through that and them having to this band of misfit kids who have never worked together in any social capacity. They probably would never even been close to anything called friends, having a band together to save the school. So it was good. Especially seeing this movie as a kid, you know, and I'm a kid, so I'm just like, I'm with these kids in this too. So that was a great attitude. I dug the faculty. I would give the faculty a 7.5. I dug it. I thought the premise was cool. Like I say, it's not reinventing the wheel here. The acting isn't the best I've ever seen, but the premise is great. The design for the monsters are great. It has some genuine scares in it. Not to mention the tension. It's got some of the best tension in a horror movie. Just from the nature of the whole body snatcher, you don't know who you're talking to of it. There's tension there. Then obviously they got a couple actors who have been in other horror movies. Obviously, Patrick. He's his time playing the little liquefied. Goddamn, what was that? T-13? I always forget the name of that thing. But him being at Terminator 2, he's bringing that to this character when he is taking over. So he's the creepiest one, obviously. But either way, I dug the hell out of the faculty. Have you guys ever seen it? It's on Hulu if you want to check it out. It's on Hulu and it's also on Paramount Plus. If you guys wanted to check it out, I would recommend it. I thought it was a fun time. Anyways, thank you guys for joining the Congress Movie Show. Please leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Goodbye.